Good morning. It's time for the morning show of yours truly, Dex the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous attack price trigger reports. And
Oh, oh, someone gets like a cookie or a bagel or something. Wow, dude.
that's right. That's right. I'm on point today, boy. And I'm here with my main man, Frank. Frank, say what's up with the people.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be here. Dex, dude, I'm impressed. It's early in the morning. We've been calling them pulse waves for like 20 years, or you have.
I
So,
know.
dude, outstanding. But
Hey,
welcome, everybody. Want to remind our members you can head over to pulsewavetrading.com, go to your dashboard, or click on Watch Now, and you'll get access to our private bullpen session, which continues after this public segment. So, thanks for being a part of the Algo Capitalist bullpen.
yes, and we have quite a bit of news to give you
Hey,
today,
yeah.
especially when we start talking about the Chinese connection.
Oh, yeah.
You know, how the saying go? There's more. I don't want to offend Jen here, but the saying does go that there's more than one way to skin a cat, right?
How dare you? Now she's going to be traumatized all day.
But I'll rephrase it and say there's more than one way to short an economy.
I've
You
always
don't
like,
have to
do it.
launch bombs and missiles to go to war these days. You can go to war in other ways. And we're going to take a look at those other ways. But first, let's get into these overnight markets. So the US dollar index is really struggling to hold the 104 handle. It's currently down 20 pips at 103.62. And that's giving encouragement to the euro, which is up 14 pips at 108.76. Pound sterling is up 40 pips at 127.32. And the Aussie is up 8 pips at 65.20. But the real story is Bitcoin futures of $1,375, trading at 69,810. We just bounced off of 69,980, coming $20 shy of our $70,000 target that was announced here at Pulse Wave Trading. So, this is why you need the attack reports, ladies and gentlemen, so you know how to handle this. I have seen it on social media and even on mainstream media when people were talking about shorting this market. My, are they feeling the pain now? This market is going to go exactly where I told you it was going to go, and it's been doing it. If you were a subscriber to the Pulse Wave reports, you could have been long as early as 58,000. And you'd be looking at a lot of points in front of you right now. But if you don't get the post wave uh, reports, the attack reports, well, then you're on your own. Ethereum futures are up 237.5 points at 3,870. I mean, it looks like this Ethereum is going to bust 4,000 in no time here. Crude oil futures down 4 cents, trading at $78.70 per barrel. It did drop to $77.52 per barrel. The volatility is still alive and well in the crude oil futures. Next, we have nat gas down a penny at $1.90. All right, so it got close to that $1.50 and then just springboarded itself right back up here. So very interesting turn of events here in the nat gas. I'm not sure if I don't think it's the weather that's doing this. I think this is just technical trading because it's been unseasonably warm. So this is interesting to see what the story is going to be behind this big rocket bounce from breaking below 150 in the nat gas. Gold futures up $13.10 per ounce, trading at $2,139.50. And the high this morning is $2,150.40 an ounce. Not to be outdone, silver futures up 31 cents, trading at $24.30 an ounce. It did top out earlier this morning at $24.43 per ounce. Looking at copper, copper is pretty much flat, trading at $3.85. Dow futures down 137 points at 38,885. It was down over 200. It hit a low so far this morning of 38,778. E-mini S&P 500 futures down 21 points at 5,117. We have the E-mini NASDAQ 100 down 205 and 3/4 points at 18,050 even. We have the Russell, which is barely unscathed, only down 3.3 points at 2,072.3. It did hit 2,077.4 so far this morning. So it's the strongest of the indices. We got beans down almost a penny, trading at $11.54 a bushel. Corn also almost down a penny, trading at $4.29 a bushel. And wheat is really getting hurt today, down a whopping 8 cents a bushel, trading at $5.55 per bushel. The Chinese connection. People have been looking at the Magnificent Seven. Some people swap out certain companies. Some people add it to make it a little bit more than seven, but we know who they are. But in this news today, we have AMD, Apple, and Tesla being hurt by China right now. China sales are slumping in the three companies, AMD, Apple, and Tesla, along with some government bureaucratic trade war nonsense. So they're really struggling right now, and it's hurting them, and their stocks are being punished this morning, down by a lot. And the question is, though, did anyone see this coming? I mean, think about it. You don't have to drop bombs anymore and shoot missiles and blow things up to start a war. There's trade wars. There's price wars. And of course, our all-time favorite, cola wars. Remember Coke and Pepsi? Well, right now, by sales slumping in China, that's kind of a de facto way to declare a financial war against the U.S. And that's China saying, you know what? You've been talking a lot of smack about us. You've been talking real greasy, America. And we're going to have to teach you a lesson, and we're going to stop buying your stuff. And so sales are down huge, like in the 20 percentile down. All right. And that's a problem. And that's starting to hurt the U.S. stock market. So you need to think about this before you open your mouth and talk grimy and greasy about other countries. And that's what we've been hearing a lot of. China this and China that out of the U.S. mainstream media. China's economy is collapsing. China's stock market is collapsing. China this, China can't sustain. Every time they mention something about China, they're really deflecting and talking about the U.S. But see, it would be too much. They would cause pandemonium, and they don't want that, because they say, well, the U.S. economy is collapsing. The U.S. housing market is collapsing. The U.S. commercial real estate market is collapsing. See, then people would be panicking in the streets. So they just deflect and put all this on China and say it's China the one that's collapsing. But the U.S. is fine. The job market is fine, even though millions upon millions of people are out of work and being laid off even as we speak. And the bad news is a lot of these jobs are never coming back because the people are being replaced with automation. Automation is more efficient and cheaper in the long run than human beings. And so that's not going to change. That's only going to become more pronounced as the days and time goes by. So with that being said, did you know that Bank of America feels more bullish about the market in the long run? They're talking out of both sides of their mouth. On one hand, they tell one group of people and reporters, we got to tell you, man, it's not feeling right. It's not looking good. And now they're saying, oh, by the way, it's very bullish. Well, did you also know that Apple got hit with a massive fine? and its share price is getting even more beat up as a result of it. That's right. Apple's is getting hit with a European fine because Europe doesn't play all that spyware stuff. All right, they don't play that, so they're being punished. And did you know that resume spamming is a thing? Did you know you can use artificial intelligence software to spam your resume out to like hundreds of prospective employees at once? Yeah, it's a thing. Who knew? But there's some caution with it because they're claiming that sometimes the algo will say the wrong thing about you, you know? But think about it. You can apply for hundreds of jobs with the click of a button in instant. All right. And that's what people are doing. They're using AI. But see, that's the thing. To me, it's showing you that AI is not God. Okay. It's not God. It just isn't. So it's prone to make mistakes and have issues. All right. But they want you to think that the AI, the bots, is God and it doesn't make mistakes and it can do everything better than you can do. No, it can crunch data faster than you can, but it doesn't make it better than you. All right. Again, an AI can only do what it's programmed to do. It can't do anything else. All right. It can't. It doesn't have the wherewithal to do that. It can't think. All right. It doesn't have volition. It can never become self aware. All right. Because it's not a human being. It doesn't have a soul. Think about that. All right. It doesn't have a soul. It cannot think. It will never be able to do that because it is a bunch of algorithms, computer code telling it what to do. And that's it. It can only do what you programmed it to do. And people are trying to, give it godlike qualities. And it's not. It's just a glorified calculator. That's it. All right. So once you are okay and understand that, then you can move forward and not have to be afraid of the machines. But in the big story, it's all about Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. Now, feel this as I'm talking to you. I don't know if you can see it in the quotes up here, but let's give a round of applause for the attack reports at post-wave trading. Bitcoin futures just hit 70,215. New all-time highs, hitting 70K just like I told you it was going to do. This is why you get the reports, folks. The attack reports tell you before it happens what you can expect out of the markets. And here it is, live and in person, a 70K print on the Bitcoin futures. You can't make this stuff up, folks.
I was late, but that's my applause track. Sorry, man.
That's right. Send us your best wine and cheeses. So the world's largest and most well-known cryptocurrency has eclipsed its all-time high of 69,000, breaking 70,000 today. And the milestone comes amid a massive rally for Bitcoin over the past month, where its price has surged greater than 60%. Even the NFT market showed signs of life. Now, a lot of people got disgusted with Bitcoin because it dropped from 69,000 down to 3,000. All right. And a lot of people were not feeling so good about that. Okay. And it should also be said here, don't forget, Jamie Dimon has been notoriously bearish on Bitcoin. All right. It is what it is. And people like to say, oh, it's speculators and the evil speculators and blah, blah, blah. But you don't say that about NVIDIA. So why is NVIDIA's price going up 1 billion%? It's an $800 stock. I was one of the only people talking about Nvidia years ago when it was a $200 stock. Now it's $800. And now all of a sudden, oh no, this is not, it's not a bubble, so you don't understand. This is AI. You don't understand. It's a revolution. But when you talk about Bitcoin, oh no, it's a bubble. It doesn't mean anything. And it's called hypocrisy, and that's what it is. You don't apply the same philosophy across the board. You only pick and choose to apply the philosophy when it's convenient to your narrative. So you're far away from reality at all times. And again, like I just said, there's those that are cheerleading the U.S. economy, saying the economy is in too good of a shape. And that's according to Dr. Doom. The perma bear, Noel Rubini, said the biggest threat to stocks is that the economy is doing so well. If growth stays high, the Fed could abandon its plan to cut interest rates, sending shockwaves throughout the market. Of course, you don't say. Because the stock market is addicted to the crack cocaine of stimulus. No Fed stimulus, then the market will start going into convulsions. It needs its daily, monthly, quarterly, annually hit of Fed crack cocaine stimulus. That is what you're looking at. So Nvidia at almost $900 a share, it's due to juicing. The stock market is showing its rippling biceps and triceps and quads. Even its back has muscles on its neck, muscles on its throat, muscles in its head and cheeks. And it's because it's been juicing. It's been juicing the whole time. It's not a natural physique. The U.S. economy does not have a natural physique. The stock market does not have a natural physique. It's all a result of juicing. The Fed has been secretly injecting the stock market with its crack juice of stimulus. That's what you're seeing. You're seeing more than 2 decades worth of stimuli. So you see the bulging veins when the stock market flexes its muscles. It's because of the juicing. Now, speaking of growth, Bank of America just bumped its S&P 500 price target. The bank is now projecting the benchmark index will hit 5,400 by year end, which would mean a 5% increase from its current level. But it won't be easy as Bank of America still sees a market pullback occurring along the way. You don't say, Bank of America. A baby could figure that out. Nothing goes up in a straight line or goes down in a straight line. All right. Of course, there are pullbacks and corrections in a strong trending market, whether it be a bull market or a bear market. Duh, of course that's going to happen. But that's not the real thing. Now, I talked in our private session last night. I told our users of the attack reports what to look out for because there is a big problem happening in your market. And I'm going to explain it to you. All right. So if you followed for any length of time and you've watched our chart segments that we do at night, you'll recall me explaining something called a trend momentum indicator. Okay. And the trend momentum indicator, as it appears on the charts, it shows a green line or a red line. A green line is a bullish trend momentum indicator. It shows the bullishness in the market. It tells you what mode the market is in. A bullish line means that we are in the buy the pullback mode, meaning that every dip or plummet or dive in the market will be defended and brought back up by the bulls. You can expect that as long as that green line is present. On the flip side, if you see the red line, that is what is called a bearish trend momentum reading. That mode is peculiar because you're in the sell the rally mode. So whatever rally happens in the market, whether it be a 1 day rally, a 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 day rally, or a week-long rally, it doesn't matter. It's gonna be sold off. So those are the two modes of momentum in a market: bullish trend momentum, bearish trend momentum. The biggest crashes in stock market history have all occurred under the auspices of a bearish trend momentum reading. The biggest 1 day rallies in markets have all occurred under the auspices of a bullish trend momentum reading. What have you been hearing me say about these markets in our evening sessions? I've been explaining to you what has been happening. In the Dow futures, for example, we have been under the auspices of a bearish trend momentum reading for a week. The S&P has a bullish one, the Nasdaq coming into today has a bullish one, and the Russell has a bearish one. When you see a market rally and take out a current previous high, doing it under a bearish trend momentum reading, that is a sell the rally event. And once the market starts to pull back, it's going to be sold off. Likewise, if you see the market do that, that is an artificial event. It's not real. It's a head fake to draw in more longs. And it's designed to, to punish bears. So that every time you short, you think the market's this is it, it's topping out. It head fakes you and then explodes back up, only to stop you out of your short position. And it's designed that way on purpose to make short sellers give up and walk away and say, you know what? I give up. The market's never going down again. I can't fight the Fed. The Fed won't let the market go down. These markets are so highly manipulated. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay? It's designed that way on purpose. Okay? So it's not your fault. We are in an interventionalist economy and have been. All right? We have been for decades. Anyone alive today has never seen a free market capitalist structure, ever. It has never been allowed to occur. Capitalism in its purest form, minus corruption and political messing with of rates and things of that nature, you have also never seen. Anyone alive today, as long as you've been alive, you've never really seen true free market capitalism be allowed to thrive in the United States of America. Never has it been allowed to do so. We are an interventionalist society where the government intervenes into its economy, where the government intervenes into its markets. And then the US likes to blame and demonize other countries for intervening in their currencies. Oh, Japan is defending the yen right now, because it's fallen too much. Oh, China is, defending the renminbi right now because it's fallen too much. But the US is guilty of doing the same thing and more. Because not only does the United States meddle in its markets that are supposed to be free markets where you allow price discovery, but then they go in and then they stimulate their markets. So they cheat. How many times have you heard Jim Cramer on his show, explain to you the way they used to rig the futures markets back in his day when he was managing his fund? He explained to you what they do. You go in and you put pressure on the futures, and then you make the stock market react a certain way. Not to include, notwithstanding spoofing orders and things of that nature, which is supposed to be illegal. All types of tricks that they do to intervene. Then, of course, you have the most famous intervention, which is the plunge protection team. And yes, it is a real thing. You can Google that. It's not a secret. It's not a classified document. It is a real thing. The Presidential Working Group does exist and has always existed. It's just been done more cleverly over the last couple of decades, where the Department of Treasury, along with um, the SEC and with the Federal Reserve, where they go in and they allow some of the large firms to come in and do the bidding of the Federal Reserve. So, like Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan will act in de facto as the de facto Fed and go in and buy up shares. All right, that's what they do. It's always been that way for decades. Okay, so that's why people are so angry with the US and they blame quote unquote capitalism for all the economic ills that they're facing today. And it's not, I repeat, it is not because of capitalism. All right, it's not. It's because of corruption and interventionism. You have not seen free market capitalism. You have not seen free price discovery. Every time things go against the narrative that the government wants, they intervene. Case in point, back in 2011, when silver and gold was just acting up. Remember when gold hit 1900? Everybody was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Silver hit $50 on the exchange. Everybody was like, yeah, baby. Well, what you don't know behind the scenes, if you're not a trader in the futures markets like that, what you were not privy to is the fact that the exchanges, all right, under the behest of the federal government by way of the CFTC, do you know what they did? They kept rising and raising the futures margins, the initial futures margins to trade gold and silver futures contracts. I remember one day, I believe it was 4 times the margin changed in one day. 4 times. You may say, why did they do that? Well, they were trying to cool down the market. It's not trying to cool down the market. Since when have you ever heard of the US government wanting to cool down prices going higher? Never. If they had their way, prices will go to the moon. It's just which prices do they want to go to the moon? Not all prices do they want to go to the moon. Certain markets they want to put their fist on and keep at bay. Gold and silver has always been two of the markets that the government has not been uh, allowed to allow those markets to have true price discovery. They've always artificially held down those prices. So don't get mad at free market capitalism, folks, because you've never seen it. The ills of the United States right now have nothing to do with capitalism. It's about government bureaucrats intervening, meddling with markets, meddling with the economy in such a way as to collapse it. So, for those of you that didn't know, the government came in and basically single handedly collapsed the gold and silver rally of 2011. Okay? They stopped it. And then they said, oh, well, with the Glass-Steagall and Dodd-Frank Act, and intraday, they didn't wait until like the close of the market on Friday to announce rule changes or whatever. No, they did it in the middle of the day without warning. They said, oh, for all you people out there trading spot metals in the US, no more. We're not allowing you to do that no more. And right in the middle of the day, we got our faces ripped completely off. Straight up. So if you were holding positions, it didn't matter if the market was moving against you or not. They busted the trade, took you out of it right there. It was like, the government made us do it. So now you cannot trade spot metals in the U.S. if you're a U.S. citizen. It's not available to you. It was before the government meddled and got in the way and said, we don't want you doing it anymore. All right. Now, yeah, I see you, John. Yeah, the Bitcoin futures is in the bull market. Absolutely. And now you can see the market is coming down after hitting 70,000. Now it's dropping. It's at 67,000 now. All of you who are post waivers, you got the message last night. We moved our stop loss in the Bitcoin futures, all right, and in the Bitcoin cash market. I sent out a tweet, I put it in the Discord, and I put it in our Slack, and I told you where we were moving our stops to. So if you are a member to the attack report, you should have seen that. It is also still up in the Slack room and on Discord. Go to what is it, Traders Chat, I think it is, Frank, in the Discord where I posted that information. And by the way, it's not too late to do so. It's not too late to do so. If you need to move your stops, tighten up your stops a little bit, so you can lock in some profit. Okay, I also mentioned this last night to our subscribers. I said, don't forget the last time the Bitcoin futures hit the all-time high, 69,000 all-time high, on the close of that day, the system gave us a crash alert. And of course, the rest is history. Don't forget, I was also the only dude on social media at the time warning the masses to either get out of the market altogether and take profit or tighten up your stops real tight. I even told you where to put your stop so that you don't get hurt. And I got laughed at. People said I didn't know what I was talking about. I need to stick to stocks and commodities and Forex because I didn't know what I was talking about. I don't know nothing about, the crypto space. And of course, the rest is history. You know that the Bitcoin dropped to the 3,000 handle and just destroyed a lot of people's accounts because they didn't listen. I always tell you every day, bulls make money, bears make money, but what? Pigs get slaughtered. That was an old school Wall Street saying. I didn't make that up. That is a truth. All right. That is a truth. It is a fact. And it's inescapable. And so I've warned about that for a long time, but I know that a lot of people don't hear me. So don't get mad at capitalism. Capitalism is the best if it is allowed to work. You need free market capitalism. You need price discovery in financial markets, not interventionism. That's what breaks things. Interventionism is a form of corruption because you're manipulating things. It's manipulation because you are tweaking and messing with something for a particular outcome that you want, for a particular propaganda government narrative that you want to have going on. And that's what the American people have grown accustomed to, and they think it's capitalism, but it's not. It's never been allowed to flourish and prosper like it should because they're afraid of it. Truth be told, governments are afraid of free market capitalism. Truth be told, governments of the world are afraid of price discovery in markets. Now, you don't need to have a college degree to understand that concept. Just think about it for a minute. What has been the bent of global government? Global governance, the bent of global governance is, in a sense, totalitarianism. Not necessarily in the harshest of the sense, but because governments want full and total control of its people, of the masses. They want to control. That's why it's called. We do live in a planned urban developments, planned economies. Hence the word planned. They want planning of everything. Central planning, this planning, that planning. Planning is just a nicer word to say totalitarianism. If you say totalitarianism, people know exactly what you mean. But if you say planned, they don't think about it. It sounds a lot nicer and gives a different connotation. But it's not planned. It's intervention. It's managed. It's manipulation. It's totalitarianism. Because in totalitarianism, the government has all power and it's backed up by force. It's backed up by the threat of violence and or the threat of death and or incarceration. If you do not comply, the government will put you in a cage. If you do not comply, the government may take your life. The government has all and complete power with the illusion of civil rights. It's an illusion because you better rest assured if the government wants your land, they're going to take your land. And they
You
don't
have
even
the
really need
right
a
to being
reason to take
controlled.
your land. All they got to do is say it's an issue of national security and it shuts all that down. You have no rights now. Your rights have been obliterated because they uttered a word or a phrase, and that's it. It's a matter of national security. When they say that, you no longer have the right to inquire, to protest. You can't even sue in a court of law. You're shut down. If the government wants something, they just take it. That's what they do, including your civil rights. You have a right to remain silent. No, you don't. That's what you think. But at the end of the day, how many times have we seen people be deprived of their so-called civil rights in one way, shape, or form or another? So what you have been witnessing, folks, all along since the day you were born, you have been living under a totalitarian government. Just the way that they have gone about doing it has made it undetectable to most people. So you don't really feel it, so you don't really question it or say anything about it. You're like, I'm not being controlled, but you're being controlled in more ways than you realize. You're being manipulated in more ways than you realize. One of the most powerful tools of the trade when you're a totalitarian entity is to make the people think that they're free when they're not. So they put out all types of propaganda and mind control methodologies to keep you at bay. How do they do this? They do it with what you see and what you hear. And they've led you to believe that seeing is believing. But how many of you can testify now that you realize we live in an age where you can no longer trust that which you see? Because now we have deep fakes. So you can't really trust what you see or trust what you hear. That just means that the programming of you has been very successful. When you watch your favorite show, whether it be on television or Netflix or Amazon or what have you, you're watching programming. What do you mean? Why do they call a movie or a television series programming or programs? Because a program is something that you create and manipulate to get a certain outcome. That's what a program is. You write a program because you're trying to achieve a certain outcome. You want to have certain things to transpire in a certain way at certain times, at certain intervals. That's why you program something. If you want to use a computer, you have to first program it. Okay? Now, think about it. It's called programming for a reason because they want you to think a certain way or believe a certain way or not believe a certain way or not think a certain way. Now, even though movies and television are very powerful mediums, they're not the most powerful medium that they use. The universal weapon of choice of totalitarian government regimes is none other than music. Music is the universal language. You can hear a song spoken in a foreign tongue, in a language you don't know, and still be able to pick up on the vibe of the music or the song. Music is the universal language. So if you want to really perpetuate certain behaviors in your society, you just pump out a whole bunch of music that support that narrative, that ideology. And that's what we see happening here. It's not a mistake what you're seeing. It's part of the programming. Music is programming too. People just never thought of it that way. They think television and movies is programming, but music is even more programming because it's not necessarily what you say, but how you say it. It's not necessarily the fact that you heard a drum beat, it's the way you heard the drum beat. How many beats per minute? Beats per minute have a certain reaction and effect on the human body. Faster tempos will generate this kind of response. Slower tempos will then generate that type of response. Louder music will give you this response. Softer music will give you that response. And it's designed that way for a reason. Now, I know this is a little macabre, but I want you to just hear what I'm saying. Remember the story, the axe man, the axe butcher dude, whatever, back in the day? Remember when you said if he hears the sound of jazz music playing at a certain time at night, that he would not hurt or harm anyone in that particular neighborhood? In other words, how many times have you heard heinous acts done while, jazz music was playing, or while an orchestra, symphony music was playing, versus how much violence and crazy things have happened when, like, certain heavy metal music was playing or certain rap music was playing? Think about it. It's programming. Who was it? Was it Mob Deep, which is they have an album called Murder Music?
Dude.
You want to say something there, Frank?
It's funny, man, because I didn't want to interrupt you because you're on a roll, but right when you said that in our private chat, I was just thinking of Rick Rubin, who I'm a big fan of. Rick Rubin, just the way he talks about creativity is really like it's kind of like it's one of those things. It's not like I learned things about creativity from him. It's like he gave me permission to lean into my own ideas about. You know what I mean? He's
Right.
like like this guy who's very successful says, yeah, do what you want. That's really what you should do. Which is like you're doing that, but when someone who's done it so well says it encourages you. So he talked about how in the 90s when he was helping produce, like the really hardcore F the Police kind of stuff. Although I forgive me, I think he may not have produced that actually. It was the other one, but I forget exactly which band it was, or crew. But he said this, or
You mean the Beastie Boys?
I'll say this: the CIA was involved in launching that movement, and it was anti-cop. That's weird.
Oh, you did NWA. Yeah, you talking about NWA? Blanket Police.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, and strangely, the government was interested in seeing the record produced. That's weird, man. And then, so just something from childhood that I always remember. I remember I was a kid, and I used to get depressed and stuff like that. But my mom worked with kids who were really messed up. And one day she came home and she said, this kid was telling me about this band, with some band I was listening to. He said it's really good, but it makes him depressed. Does it make you depressed? And I was like, no, because I was afraid of getting it like taken away. Well, we grow up and all of our rock stars killed themselves. That's interesting. That all of a sudden we went from hair metal and chicks and everything's fun. And by the way, there's a musical, Eddie Trunk is a heavy metal reporter. And he doesn't have a conspiracy theory. I've been listening to Eddie Trunk for years, and I have a conspiracy theory. He says, and he just assumes it's a cultural phenomenon, but when he talks about the incoming of grunge, he says it was overnight, and the spirit of the music industry changed so much that former rock stars were loathed and hated immediately. And I remember being a kid and that happening, and it did happen overnight. It was very odd. All of a sudden, the attitude was, if you listen to anything that's more than a year old, it sucks and we hate it and you should hate it too. And it was like, okay, like it was
Yeah.
really weird. It was like all of a sudden you couldn't listen to Bon Jovi, whereas like yesterday you were completely. And I understand that happens with kids and stuff like that. That said, we went from this very sort of, despite the dressing like women, very masculine machismo kind of music, where it was all
Hmm.
about, I'm going to win in my life and I'm going to get chicks and I'm going to be happy. And, maybe it was a bit immoral, but it was very self-affirming, at least for men, So
Right.
we go from that to, this nihilistic, everything means nothing and it's so cool and everybody enjoys it. But then they all grow up after singing that for 20 years. They end up killing themselves. That's interesting.
Yeah.
You sing
And
that,
think
if you
about it.
sing every night about how sad you are, it causes you psychological problems and you kill yourself. Well, it's interesting that the music industry decided that was the music we were going to listen to for 5 years
Hmm.
in the 90s. Very
Yeah,
strange.
it
But
is. And
let me interject, Dex.
no problem. One of the now I don't know the name of the song, and I don't know the name of the song or the lady that sings it. I just know what I saw. This is a true story. This was back in 2007 or 2008. Forget which year. I think it was probably 2008. And my daughter and I, we were on YouTube, just scrolling through things, seeing what's new, what's going on, and we found this video montage. It was a video, a music video of abused animals, like especially like a lot of dogs and cats, and it was horrific. The images they were showing were absolutely horrific. They make your heart drop into your stomach. But that wasn't the thing. It was the song that was playing in the background. Dude, this was the saddest song I've ever heard in my life. And the fact that it was playing this
It's wild.
montage of all these, injured dogs. I mean, just some of these
Huh,
animals would look like they were just
stuff.
decimated. And my daughter and I, we couldn't help but to bust out crying while we were
Oh,
watching this video and the music. To this day, I cannot hear that song. That song is the saddest song I've ever heard in my life. And the response that it garners from you, especially when you're watching the montage of hurt and abused and neglected animals, oh my goodness. It's like,
yeah.
dude, I just want to jump off a bridge
Frequencies,
kind
man.
of thing.
So it's all about the patterns that are being put into your head and into your body. And as a musician, it's like it's another interesting thing as a musician that I've noticed. A lot has happened in my life recently where sort of like let myself see things the way I want to see them, not
Mhm.
necessarily want, but the way I do see them, right?
Right.
And one of the movements in music right now, and on one level, I really appreciate it. Is not a criticism, but you'll notice like with the rock music for a couple generations, just popular, kids playing guitars and drums and bands. It's
Mhm.
extreme. I can tell you now at this age, it is so extremely accessible where you can express yourself on those instruments and get good at them with very little intellectual need. You could just do it, right? It's very
Right.
tactile. All of them are essentially percussion instruments. You're banging on them, even the guitar. So, um, it's such a healthy thing that helped me so much as a kid. Gave me confidence to realize we could organize ourselves and write songs and sound like rock stars. And what you see now is there's a resurgence of rock, but it's what some people call math rock. And again, I'm not against it. I want the kids to. I'm glad the kids are playing guitars again.
Right.
That said, there's all this stuff about complicated polyrhythms, and everything is so complicated that you can't be cool until you've had, you know, uh, you know, like savant level musical training. It's
Well,
like
it's funny you say
I
that.
can't play the stuff that are like the basic guitar players, and I'm a pretty advanced guitar player. The point being, um, it's like they kind of want to take it away from people and complicate it so much. But one thing, this is the point I was going to make. Sorry, I got on a rabbit trail, but um, recently I realized, you know what? It's really simple, rhythmic, danceable music that makes your heart open up.
Mhm.
It's not sitting there going, "Let me count the 20th notes," it's like, that's cool. It has a certain place, and it can even have a certain healing quality. You know, I love like some of these really complicated Tool prog rock songs that just, you know, go through your whole soul, you know. But at
Right.
the same time, I think it's curious that the music industry keeps giving us things that are hard to dance to and don't sing about nice summer days and girls and boys, and it's all this complicated, impossible stuff.
Well,
or
I have to say you're
or
right.
demonic filth. That's it. That's all you get. You get demonic filth or extremely complicated music that no one really wants to listen to on the first try.
Yeah, well, you have to have an ear for it. Like I think what you're talking about, like extreme metal, right?
No, not necessarily. And again, I'm not criticizing it. I like the music. I'm just saying that I feel like the simple life affirming music of 1 2 3 4 or 1 2 3 4 5 6 is
Hmm.
kind of like they're keeping it away from kids for some reason. It's like
Okay, I see what you
you're
mean.
either going to be a total psycho or you're going to be listening to this impossibly complicated music that you need to build appreciation for. Whereas like rock music was always simple thing that it was accessible and people could express themselves. And
Hmm.
now it's like, you know, anyway, listen, I got a gray beard. I'm an old man and I'm complaining about the kids. Okay.
Well, my thing is look, it goes a little bit deeper than that, even though, because remember, there is power in music,
Absolutely.
even going back to the Old Testament.
Right.
When King Saul was troubled
Just
by
thinking
a
about that,
demon
man.
at night, he
Yeah.
had to summon King David to come and play the harp for him to quiet, that spirit, to chase away the demon.
That is
And what
crazy, man. I was just thinking about that. And when I say just thinking about that, like yesterday, deep diving in my brain about it. It's nuts.
Wow.
Hold up, man.
Yeah, and I think about it, there's an actual chord.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not a musician and I don't know how to read music. I just know the documentaries and things I've seen and
Oh,
research
you're
I've
talking about
done.
the devil's chord?
Well, not the devil's chord, but there's a chord
Uh-huh.
that is supposed to promote healing in the body.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about? There is a
Certain
form
frequencies.
of healthcare
Mhm.
that revolves around sounds,
Yes.
ASMR and stuff like that, where certain pitches and things have certain effects on your body. Like for instance,
Mhm.
with the oral surgery that I had,
Yeah.
there was a dental ASMR for people who just had oral surgery. I testify to you that I felt no pain while listening to that. It took it
Mhm.
away.
Wow.
Before
Wait,
that, my
can you say that
jaw was
again?
throbbing like my jaw was broken, man.
So what did you play? You listened to the ASMR?
I listened to this dental ASMR
Get out.
and it made the pain go all the way out.
You shouldn't say this on
Um,
YouTube, man. They're gonna send the black ops to take those dentists out. They let a secret out, man.
I know, right? So there was a guy who came to our church back in the early 90s, 1990s, and he did a sermon series called "Up Above My Head I Hear Music."
Oh dear.
And he was explaining the science behind different, musical rhythms and things of that nature. And there are healing frequencies that can promote healing of disease and things of that nature. And it's a fact. There is a Christian musician. I forget his name, and I think he was on Coast to Coast AM, but this was, several years ago. And he had came out with some CDs to promote certain, healing and things of that nature, um, and provide, meditation, things like that. And it's very, very, very powerful. And since then, a lot of people have been getting into ASMR and things of that nature, and helping people. But I say all that to say that, again, because music is a neutral tool, all right, and it has power, and one of the powers it has is to bring forth certain emotions and thought processes in your mind.
Right.
All right, there's certain music that you can play, and I guarantee you, on a hot summer day when the mercury hits over 100 degrees, you play this music, I guarantee you're going to have a riot,
Mhm.
and someone's
Yep.
going to get hurt and
Yep.
stomped out. And that's a fact, because there are certain songs that promote that. You ever heard a song once, and then after you heard it, you felt like Superman?
Yeah. Dude, that's why the algorithm on Facebook. Listen, my Facebook gives me nothing but fistfights, and like That's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
They want you to see some shop clerk get beat up by some jerk, or some
Yes.
cop beat up some kid, or somebody run over like they want you to get mad at everybody all the time. They want to find
Yes.
the most aggravating, out of context things they could possibly show you and fill you with rage.
Yes.
And they want your life to be difficult, and they want to trigger you to attack them. It's all this stuff. By the way, thanks, Mind, which is a great name. The solfeggio frequencies. Yeah, this has been a big thing with me, Dex. It's funny you're bringing this up, man, because I went through all these weird things in my life. I've always been like a spiritual guy, but recently it just became like patently obvious to me that sounds and what's going on around you and all that kind of stuff, it organizes your whole invisible self, and that's your spirit. And so it's like they know how to mess with you. They know how to
Hmm.
mess with you. Just because something's invisible doesn't mean it's not real. And they really want you to think that if it's invisible, it's I noticed growing up, I was always kind of a perceptive kid when it came to this kind of stuff. I noticed growing up that we all seem to have an agreement in the public school that anything that was of your personal belief, you have to at least pretend you don't believe it while you're here. You have to pretend to be rational here, and we're going to talk like we all know that. Not
Wow.
just that you have your beliefs and they're not for school. It's that if you're going to talk here, you're going to need to interact with the fact that your beliefs are ridiculous, and you're going to dismiss them at every moment because we know everything. Everything is what you can see and measure, except that every year we can see and measure more. So what's to make you think that all of these people who have become quiet in their souls and interacted with God didn't achieve some vibration? So,
Right.
there's a lot of stuff, and our air is filthy with vibrations that they tell us are harmless, and I just don't see how that's possible. I just don't see
Because
that.
it's not possible. Do you know we? That's one thing about in the United States of America. For all of its so-called greatness,
Mhm.
it's one of the most corrupt
Yeah.
places ever, and they
We
lie
allowed
to their
ourselves
citizens
to be
about
deceived.
everything.
Yeah,
Did you know that a lot of medical conditions can be linked back to dental issues?
absolutely. Yeah.
And that
The
includes
stuff they did to your teeth.
fibromyalgia, lupus, all that stuff
Mhm.
can be linked back to dental issues. And one of the most primary issues is fillings. When they put mercury in your mouth, the same mercury that if I was at a high school and I took a thermometer and smashed it on the ground so that the mercury liquid could spill everywhere, they would have to call hazmat to come and clean that up.
Yep.
That's how toxic mercury is. That's how dangerous mercury is. But for some odd reason, you can put it in your mouth though
Yeah.
and let it affect your bloodstream over decades. It's okay.
We were talking about this the other day in terms of, it took me a long time. I was a pretty traditional, like in let's see, how old am I? In the early 2000s, when all, after 2001, after September 11th, I was a pretty traditional, toe the line sort of Fox News conservative. I thought I was a rebel because I listened to Rush Limbaugh, and he seemed to
Likewise.
he saw through a lot. He was like a gateway drug to being, red pilled. Um, and a guy I really love and respected, but I wasn't able to listen toward the end because it's like, yeah, you're the best analysis on a completely fake system.
Right.
You know,
I
and
thought I was
so
the most
like,
informed man in the world because I listened to Rush Limbaugh.
you did what?
I thought I was the most informed man in the world because
Me
I
too.
listened to Rush
Me too. For
Limbaugh.
years, that's how I felt. Yeah, and it's kind of like you're the most informed in the traditional categories at that point, and not to sound arrogant or elitist or anything, but as
I
time
was
went
an idiot. I
on,
knew nothing.
yeah, I mean, as time goes on, you really start to open up, and I forgot why I brought that up, but
To
yeah.
prove that we knew nothing.
Oh,
We
I
thought
know.
we knew something.
Oh, yeah, no, but I had a big point, and it was this. Uh, I as time has gone on, I've been challenged along the way each time. Am I going to believe my eyes, or am I going to believe what they tell me? Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because you think about like Rage Against the Machine, you know, F you, I won't do what you tell me. And they're the most compliant. I mean, they start out as this band that's rocking the world and saying, F you, I won't do what you tell me, and end up being the poster children of obedience to leftist government media.
Right.
And that's why I'm suspicious about the whole 90s and Clinton and all this stuff. Someone pointed out, they reminded me it was Clinton era. So, and Clinton Bush era. I should say Bush Clinton era. So here's what I was trying to get at, Dex, which is as time has gone on, more and more of the crazier theories, I'm seeing that they contrast with everything that I saw growing up in school, which was like, hey, we're in a physical world. We know everything about it. Don't worry about it. You know, there's no space aliens and no God, and just be quiet. You know,
Right.
please don't pray in the hallway. It offends
Right.
everybody else. Who else? The 5 atheist kids who aren't Roman Catholic or Pentecostal or Korean evangelicals. Those kids. Which ones?
Right.
all, of,
Exactly.
all of us are either lukewarm religious or completely insane revivalists, because it was the time of the Brownsville revival. A lot of stuff like that.
Right.
So, we were always trying to not show our religion. So I grew up in that world where we all agree to that. And as I get older, I find, no, the world is ripe with spirit and life and supernatural mysteries. And after quietly holding views of that these things are real and we should take them seriously and what's going on and they're hiding it from us, we now find out, a person like Tucker Carlson is a great example. He was very much a normie his whole life. I saw an interview with him yesterday. He was saying, he realizes he was just totally duped by so many things. And a great example that people can't get away from is this UFO thing that the government has been saying it's fake all the time. All that to say this, I'm starting to realize the bigger picture didn't just start in the 90s and stuff like that. Little things that they did that should have been obvious if we actually have any scientists at all in the West. These are
Right.
definitely things that people should have known, but the cultural pressure wasn't there. A simple thing like this. If you look in, and it's becoming really popular now, there's a guy who's been on Rogan about it. If you look into this issue of earthing or grounding, which most people think I'm talking about a new age metaphysical idea, I'm not. I'm talking about a physical scientific idea that when you touch your skin to the earth, your body gets lit up with the Earth's electrical field or whatever. I'm not saying it technically.
Touch grass. The
Yeah,
same.
touch grass. In other words, touch grass is one of the most. Here's the thing: we stopped ever being grounded to the earth, except when we're in the ocean or on the beach or barefoot in the grass. Once we started wearing Nike shoes in the 60s or whatever it was. And here's the thing, that's not a little thing. You know what that means? It means your body doesn't have a mechanism to deal with its own inflammation. Because why do you ground things? To prevent them from burning. And so when you get disconnected from the ground, your body is able to just produce inflammation forever. And what do we find? That the guy who made this sort of has been promoting this discovery for a while. He said, if you look at medical conditions, they went from treating like traumatic things to treating things like cancer, diabetes, and things that are involve inflammation and all that kind of stuff. When we started wearing rubber shoes all the time. And then you look in our houses, most of our houses have basements that we don't go in. And so we're standing on wooden floors, which we're not getting connected. The point being, the most basic things about how you keep a human body healthy, we've been progressively removed from them and told not to even think about it because that's dumb. And
Wow.
you say you need to get grounded or earthing, and people go, "Oh, get out of here!" They talk about it like it's. I saw this one podcast where these like macho guys were talking about it, and they had to sheepishly say, "You know what, man? I was looking into that thing, and it sounds really dumb, but you know what?" And it's like, is this what you did to the men of the West? That they're
Yes.
so stupid that saying, you know what, you should probably touch the earth, it might make you healthier, is some kind of coming out of your masculine shell to admit there might be something to it. That's what they did to the men of the West. Are you kidding me? We've become
Yes.
fools. We've become fools. We hate ourselves so much that we will eat any of the BS they want to feed us any minute of the day. And we have zero confidence to say, hey, I see what my eyes see. I see that there's no way that's the most popular president in history. But
They
we're
beat it
afraid
out of you.
Karen is going to make us feel dumb for saying the truth. Well, the
It's
local
crowd
Karen
control, crowd
has
dynamics.
rare cancers from taking 17 shots over the last 3 years. Don't worry about local Karen's opinion of you. She's got months to live. Start
Yeah.
standing up for what you see.
Controlled opposition is what we've been seeing,
We'll put
and
that.
that's what it is. Like just like
Yeah.
you said about that
Same thing with
group.
the churches. They all shut down when they were told to. Are you kidding me?
Well, see, if they would have came out a certain way, you wouldn't have been attracted to them. So they come out saying "Rage Against the Machine," right?
Yep.
To pull you in, pull all the young people in,
Tom
and
Morello
then
went
once
to
they get
Harvard.
all the people
Okay,
pulled
yeah, he
in,
must be smart.
now they say, "Okay, here's our true agenda and the true motive: obey."
Obey.
And the people say, "Yeah, you need to obey." Because they said so. So they use that. They use the controlled opposition to reel you in, and then they throw you into the bus. And like you said, I thought I was well informed because I listened to Rush Limbaugh,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize that that wasn't even touching
Yeah.
the door.
It was letting
I
you
didn't.
question the most obvious parts and pretending that these people aren't all literally
No, I
cousins.
still didn't understand what I needed to understand. It
Yeah.
wasn't until I met Alex Jones
There you go. Now we're talking.
that I started researching down a rabbit hole that I didn't even know existed. And I found out about him by accident because here's what happened. In '08, I had a brother and he said, "Yo, have you ever heard of this particular rap artist?" I was like, "Nah." He said, "Dude, you need to hear this dude. This dude is amazing." So I had never been on YouTube before. I hadn't even heard of YouTube. Didn't even know what it was. And so he said, "Go in there and check it out." So I did. I was like, "Oh, that was." I was like, I was blown away. I was like, "Yeah, dude is incredible." So then he said, "Yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff on there." Other than that, I was like, "Really? I don't even. How do you use this thing? What do you?" And once I figured out that you could search for stuff on there, I just one day. I don't even to this day. I don't know what made me do this, but I typed in a few things after that, just playing around, just being curious, just learning like a baby with a new toy or something. And for some odd reason, something told me type in 9/11.
Oh no.
And I typed in
That's
9/11.
it for me too. My
And I'm
brother
like,
kept
because
bugging
I
me.
was like, you know what? I guess I was thinking about it because I was so affected on that day. I've told that testimony on here a million times, but I won't go back over all of that. But I just typed it in, and then I saw the first things that came up in the results. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that particular footage. Yep, I remember that. I remember that. And then all of a sudden, I saw something that said conspiracy, and I was like, what conspiracy? What are you talking about? I clicked on it. Man, I feel like somebody punched. I feel like Mike Tyson punched me in my chest when he was at his prime, and I didn't see the punch coming, and my hands were down by my side, and he hit me with all his might right in my chest. That's what I felt like, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was there, and I didn't see or hear any of this.
It's crazy.
And the part that really blew me away, I think I went on like a 2 or 3 year research binge.
Mm.
And the thing that made me do this, because
Dude,
I'd
you
never
were
heard of
always
these things
saying that me
before.
and you are strangely like the same person in a way.
I told you, dude. You see, now you begin to
You can
believe me.
see reading my diary right now. It's hilarious.
The part that got me was when they showed one of the hijackers live in studio at the BBC saying, "Excuse me, I didn't do that. I'm right. I'm alive. I'm here. I'm in the UK. I'm chilling.
Dude, I've
That
never
wasn't
seen that
me.
one. That's crazy. I didn't even
That wasn't me. That never played in the US.
wow. I've never
That footage never played in the United States, not even once."
Mhm.
And that is when I went down this research rabbit hole, and I was blown away
Dude.
at how intricate and how incredible the things are. I mean, one thing led to another. I thought I was just on one topic, but then all these other topics came open. And then I was introduced to a dude named David Icke. And I listened, and I was hearing what he was saying, right? He said
Dude,
it was this one thing, I can't find it. I cannot find it anywhere. But he had did a clip where he talked about news and how the government is the news, and they create the news and tell the TV stations what to say and all that stuff, right? Now, I had to turn him off when he started talking about the lizards. I had to turn him off because I was like,
Lizards is the
because,
final boss battle.
but look, but look, but then
That's where you
I
really.
found out. Now, this is going to blow you guys away because a lot of people were turned off with David Icke after he started talking about the lizard people. Here's something that I'm going to say that's going to blow you guys away. He was not wrong. The train track that he was on was not wrong. He just got off at the wrong station. But he was on the right track.
At least.
He just got off on the wrong station. And what he was seeing, he didn't even understand, because he's more of an atheist, so he doesn't have a religious background. So he didn't understand that what he was seeing and what he found and discovered. And there's all types of footages around showing people, quote unquote, shapeshifting and all that stuff, their eyes turning into snake eyes and all that stuff. It's not that they are lizard people, because there are no lizard people. What he saw was certain people who are in league with Satan, who have certain demonic energy inside of them, who've given themselves over to demonic entities. And that's what the cameras were picking up and showing. He didn't understand that part. He never got to that conclusion. His conclusion was, oh, it's a lizard. Lizard eyes, lizard tongue, lizard this, it's a lizard. No, Dave, you got off at the wrong station. Get back on the train. You got one more stop to go to, and then you'll understand it. So he was not wrong in what he was seeing. He was just wrong in the conclusion of it. He got off at the wrong station. But come to find out, he was on point. Now, ever since then, other people have come out and been parroting that because they don't understand the biblical significance of these things. So I say all that to say, back to where I first started from, is that we don't get to choose which way we come into knowledge and understanding. Sometimes we come in through a very wide gate, and believe it or not, there were some nuts that I discovered and found out. But here's the thing that's funny about it. The nuts on one occasion spoke some truth, and they were right. Believe it or not, they were right about something. Like, for instance, all right, I'll give you a case in point. If I say this name is gonna promote a certain response in most people listening. Here we go. First name, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan. Now, when some of you hear that, you think, oh, racist, right? You may think a lot of different things, and that's fine. That's fine. But that's not why I brought his name up. I brought his name up because, believe it or not, he did a series of lectures going all the way back to the late 80s, early 1990s, and he was discussing some truths and some facts that were, for the most part, unknown to the masses, to most Americans, straight up. Now, if you just said, I'm not listening to anything he has to say, he's racist, I'm not listening to him, you would have missed out on that. I'm going to say another name to you. And this is going to also make some people probably just trigger a lot of people. This is a trigger warning. The next name I'm going to name is a man by the name of David Duke. Yeah, that David Duke. Ex-Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. Now, you hear that, but I don't want to hear anything he has to say. That guy is crazy. I'm not hearing that. He lynched my grandfather. I don't want to hear any of that, right? But see, if you took that approach, then you would have missed some very powerful information that he was telling you about that you needed to know.